I want to start with something that most spiritual spaces don't always say out loud. Awakening doesn't always feel like light. Sometimes it feels like everything falling apart. For most of my life, I was doing what I thought I was supposed to do. Being responsible, being capable, being the one people could depend on. On paper, my life looked fine, but internally, something was happening that I didn't yet have language for. A quiet disconnection from myself. A sense that I was living a life that made sense to everyone else, but not to my soul. And eventually, that quiet disconnection turned into what many of you probably recognize, a dark night of the soul. For me, it didn't arrive gently. It arrived all at once. My youngest daughter was struggling and had to go into a treatment facility because she was afraid she might harm herself. At the same time, the world was shutting down from COVID. My marriage was breaking apart. The career I had built my identity around suddenly didn't make sense anymore. Everything that had once defined my life was unraveling. And I remember sitting there thinking, how can everything fall apart at the same time? But what I understand now, and what I couldn't see then, is that the dark night doesn't destroy your life. It reveals what was never truly yours to begin with. Because when the roles fall away, when the expectations fall away, when the structures you relied on fall away, you're left with something very simple and very powerful: your truth. And the dark night asks a question most of us have spent our entire lives avoiding. If you stopped performing, who would you actually be? For a long time, I didn't know the answer, but slowly, something began to happen. Every time I chose honesty over performance, every time I trusted my intuition over conditioning, every time I acted as if my inner voice mattered, my life began to reorganize itself. New opportunities appeared. New people appeared. Even new versions of myself appeared. And I began to understand something profound. Healing yourself is not just personal. It's collective. Because every time one person breaks a generational pattern, the entire lineage shifts. Every time one person chooses authenticity over conditioning, the energetic field changes. Every time one person refuses to stay small, the collective consciousness expands just a little bit. We tend to imagine spiritual awakenings as something private: meditation, journaling, spiritual growth. But what if awakening is actually a collective event? What if every person in this room who chooses to live their truth is literally helping recalibrate the world? Because when you heal, your nervous system becomes safer for others. When you speak your truth, you give someone else permission to speak theirs. When you refuse to live from fear, the frequency around you changes. This is why your healing matters. Not because you become perfect, but because you become real. And the world right now does not need more polished people. It needs more awake people. People who have walked through the dark night and realized it wasn't darkness at all. It was transformation. It was a dismantling of an old identity that could no longer hold who you were becoming. So if you're in a season where everything feels uncertain, where your old life doesn't quite fit anymore, where your intuition is whispering that something new is trying to emerge, you are not lost. You are being reintroduced to yourself. And that process, messy, beautiful, terrifying, magical, is exactly how consciousness evolves. One awakened human at a time. So the real question isn't, why is this happening to me? The real question is, who am I becoming because of it? And when enough of us answer that question with courage, that's when the world changes.